We're going to look today at the prophet Elijah. He's at the later stage of his life. He's close to the finish line, and he's faced some rough things in his service to God and Israel. He's actually been chased around by death squads from the previous king's regime, King Ahab, and now Ahab is dead, and Elijah is facing a new challenge. Ahab's son Ahaziah is sending messengers to find out if he's ever going to get well because he's gotten hurt badly. And Elijah is walking with God in a little bit more, shall we say, wise, humble self awareness than when Ahab was on the throne chasing him around. So, Elijah, 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 3, the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, "Go and meet the messengers of the king of Samaria and ask them, 'Why are you going to Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, to ask whether the king will get well? Is there no God in Israel?' Now therefore this is what the Lord says. You'll never leave the bed on which you're lying. You'll surely die." So Elijah went to deliver the message. When the messengers went back to the king, he asked them, "Why have you returned so soon?" They replied, "A man came up to us and said, 'Go back to the king, give him this message from the Lord. Why are you sending men to Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, to ask whether you'll get well? Is there no God in Israel? Now since you've done this, you'll never leave the bed on which you're lying, but you'll surely die.'" And the king asks in verse 7, "Who was this man? What did he look like?" They replied, "He was hairy. He wore a leather belt around him." "Oh," the king exclaimed, "it was Elijah from Tishbe." Then he sent an army captain with 50 soldiers to arrest Elijah. Sound familiar? Death squads, goon squads, chasing Elijah around. Son is behaving like the father had. But they found him, Elijah, sitting on top of a hill. The captain said to him, "Man of God, the king has commanded you to come along with us." But Elijah replied, verse 10, "If I am a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and destroy you and your 50 men. Then fire fell from heaven and killed them all. There's some really interesting things going on here. Elijah could reasonably be expected to figure probably he'll be chased by this son, just like the father had chased him, because he's given a bad message to the king, just like he had to this King Ahaziah's dad. But he's not running this time. Elijah's not from the goon squads. No, he's sitting on top of a hill, and it's not a passive acquiescing. It's an active listening. It's a praying. He stepped back from his overwork, his eventual exhaustion from too much self-sufficiency, and he's now out of the ditch of self-absorption, and he's dwelling on the sovereignty of God. He's listening, he's contemplating, he's meditating, he's strengthening himself, sitting atop a hill, not running. And there's a deeper realization of God's sovereignty, and there's a growing, continuing understanding of the depravity of his culture, and Elijah is submitted, and he's yielded, and he's trusting. There's no show of anxiety or anger. And he realizes, does Elijah, God is the ultimate king. Ahaziah is not. And let's see what God will do. And so he says, well, if I'm a man of God, let fire fall from heaven. What he's really concerned about is not his own glory. It's not his own legacy. It's not himself. He's concerned about God's glory. And he's yielded. He knows, maybe God will answer with fire, maybe he won't. Let's see what God does. And he's really answering the question, is there a God in heaven? And is there a God in Israel? Yes, there is, and yes, there is. And he's learning to rest as he continues to walk the race of a prophet. We have to learn the same thing. We have to learn quiet, solitude, listening, prayer, meditation on the sovereignty of God, the fallenness of the world, and how those things come together in the life of a person that follows God to the finish line and learns to fail forward, like Elijah did. Have a great day.